So Shireen, you remember earlier in the car when I was talking about how in the past, yeah, I was one of those people who had one of those, custom made nameplate belts, and mine said Dr. LJ on it because I was
Oh my
Dr. Love Jones at
goodness.
the I was Dr. Love Jones at the time. I was really feeling myself,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I really loved myself. I thought I was the shiznit, you know what I'm saying?
I would have never thought that's yeah, that's yeah.
I really, I thought I was kind of sexy.
Why? Why?
I thought I looked like Genuine, and so
And then that's what somebody told you that?
Genuine fine.
Somebody told you that?
Yeah, and I got if anybody knows me and you look at my pictures online, I got a picture with Genuine where I look like his little brother. I mean, it was
I remember that picture of you
exactly
and
so.
Genuine.
So you already know.
No comment.
I had a lot of self-love, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, while I was dealing with kind of the total opposite. So during that time anyway, we can get into that.
Yeah. So with that, let's get into it.
Let's get into another episode of Black Relativity.
Ladies and gentlemen,
where we discuss all topics, tribulations, and issues that are experienced within the Black community, from the standard to the most controversial. No filters, no boundaries, just real talk. This is Black Relativity with your hosts, Gary and Shireen Mariner.
So, a statement that I know you probably heard before, whether in a movie or whatever the case may be, is you can't truly love someone else if you don't love yourself first.
And I really don't like that statement. It's very cliche. I mean, I believe it's a true statement, but it's just highly overused.
But why do you feel it is a true statement? Let's go there.
Well, it's a true statement because if you don't have that love for yourself, then you're not going to really know what it is and what needs to be done to love somebody else. And that focus is going to have to be on improving how you feel about yourself internally.
I totally agree. And I think the hardest part is if you haven't found that love for yourself, learning how to, and then learning how to live with this new, reality that you have to create.
And how do you feel about yourself? Whether, is there a difference now than it was in the past?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you a question.
I didn't know.
I'm looking at you.
It's true. I didn't know if you were just talking to the community. No. But anyway, I mean, for me now, I have a greater love for myself than I ever did. And I know the value that brings to our relationship, especially when dealing with you. And, it's immensely valuable in my opinion.
And you feel that you have more love for yourself than the love that you have told me that you've had for yourself in the past.
Well, I think that the love that I had in the past was kind of a reaction to the negativity or the reality that I found myself in. It wasn't really, I wouldn't really call it love. It was a yearning and a need for acceptance. And sometimes you can confuse that.
Well, I think you should elaborate a bit more on what you mean by that, as far as how you expressed your self-love in the past, but what it actually meant.
Yeah, for me, and obviously it's the wrong statement to use as far as to call it self-love, because it really wasn't. It was more so, it's kind of like when a comedian is up on stage and he tells the right joke and gets the right response from everybody. And then he pivots and goes that way instead of the way that he started. Mm-hmm. That's what I did in life. It was like, okay, you all are responding to this well, and I'm getting the attention that I desire. And so I'm going to keep giving it to you because it's giving me what I want.
And what was that confidence that you were giving? I mean, what?
No, I mean, you can call it a vibe. which is a word that we use now. I got that vibe, or I had that vibe at the time. And
Meaning you vibed with people very well during that time?
I think I kind of sized people up really well from an early point, and I figured out what it is that you needed in order for me to get a positive response from you in order to get what I wanted. And most people would look at that and say that that's a really negative aspect, but it wasn't that I was looking for something like I had an ulterior motive or I was trying to get you, so to speak. I really was just looking for a friend, somebody who was going to treat me right, treat me nice, respect me and, share in my interests. And when I realized that I could find out what it is that you liked, and either I would then realize we had something in common, or I realized that there was something about what you liked that I could find interest in so that we could have a common ground to speak on, then I did.
I can understand that.
But I never looked, it was never about myself. It was all about you. And I made it all about the other person, because another thing that you find out growing up is people love to talk about themselves and they really don't want to know about you.
Yeah, I think that's true to a certain degree.
So, yeah, it was easy to just find the right thing to say to get you to word vomit about everything about your life and not have to open my mouth.
So would you say that the self-love or the vibe that you had during that time in the past allowed you to be a more popular person? Would you consider yourself, popular?
Yeah, I definitely would. I mean, but then on the flip side, would you say the same thing about yourself?
No. I was never popular. I mean,
flat out, no.
No, I was a nerd. That's just how I was. I was into school. I was into learning, and my friends were, maybe one or two people that I was really close to. I don't even know if I really could say that I had or did not have confidence in myself. I mean, I had confidence in my ability with what I was doing education wise, but when I look at how I was and how I felt about myself personally, my physical image, because as you know, both of us were pretty skinny. I mean, I'm small now, but we were both pretty small in size during that time. And that thing it ended up playing a very big factor for me as the years kind of went down.
Speaking on the aspect of being small, and just to give everybody a realistic understanding of what we mean by small, Shireen was a size 0 and has always been a size 0 for a while.
I probably can still wear a size 0 in certain brands. I mean, I moved up to a 2 now, so I'm happy about that, but I'm still small.
And, I went from graduating high school into college 100 pounds soaking wet, 5'10", almost 5'11", super skinny. So for me, one of the biggest problems was I love the magazine GQ and Essence and all of those types of magazines where you would have the capability of seeing the possibility of seeing either a black man or a black woman, randomly. But they never really had somebody who looked like me as the main cover.
Meaning what? As a black man?
Yeah, it was rather, few and far between. I can remember all the people, all the black men that were on the cover of GQ, on the cover of Essence, because those are my idols. Those are the people who, oh my God, there's someone who looks like me, even though I'm a super light-skinned dude. So, when you get the dark-skinned guy up there, he didn't really look like me, but he looked like someone from my family. He looked like my father or somebody from that side, or, but when I saw a light-skinned guy, light-skinned curly dude who exuded this confidence, this just, I look better than your man. That that's the way I looked at it when I was younger. I was like,
my goodness.
you wish you had me. But it's kind of hard because from the modeling aspect, because one of the things I always wished that I could have been if I had the confidence was a model. I always wanted to be on the cover of this or walking down this runway. But, then you always sit there and look at yourself and you go, well, I'm not really that tall. I'm not really that muscular. I'm too skinny for all of that. And even if I was, some skinny model type, the only skinny model types I saw were white. I didn't see any black guys.
And that's usually what I saw as a black woman. I saw white women that were models that were tall. They were very thin. And, I was thin as well, but we weren't the same color. You didn't really see too many black women with that type of shape. Most of the time when you look at magazines like Essence or things like that and what you see on TV, even today, when you look at black women who are being showcased, they're more voluptuous. They're more shapely. And, my shape is very minimal. So I didn't see that. And that played a very big part in my confidence as I went through high school and somewhat into college as well. I mean, I can remember back in high school when I became extremely obsessed with trying to gain weight, to try to get to that point where I could have somewhat of a voluptuousness to my curvature. It got even pushed even more when, a guy that I was obsessed with at the time told me that, I would be perfect if I gained like 10 to 15 pounds. At the time, I was about 105. And, basically I wanted to get to like 125 pounds. And I was like, oh, okay, so I would be perfect if I got to 125 pounds and tried everything to try to gain weight. And nothing was working. I was just small. That was just my nature. And it wasn't until I moved down to Georgia and actually kind of developed a hobby of modeling, doing photo shoots, and actually saw that my size was actually what was desirable. And I actually began to love my size because I opened myself up to see that, there is nothing wrong with my size, but it's so hard to see my size portrayed on TV because most African American women that you see are voluptuous.
See, my problem with the TV industry, the movie industry, for a long time, you really just, as Shireen just said, you just did not see yourself, or at least the times when we did see ourselves in the movies or on TV shows, we were playing some role that did not speak to me. That was not me. That wasn't my personality. That wasn't the way that I came across to people. That wasn't who I was. And so it's like, if I can't see myself physically, emotionally, and mentally, because the particular roles that you cast us black people in make us look some type of way, but that's not me, then where do I find myself in this world? To look at myself and know that there's a reason to love me.
And what would you consider you? What would be the ideal look that you would see on TV that you would identify with?
The funny thing about it is the type of person that I was, and I don't know if anybody remembers this movie, but I'm Ferris Bueller. I am the party guy. I am the guy that everybody loves, that everybody likes to be around. I'm the person that you call when your party sucks. I'm the person you call to come and liven it up. I'm the energy person. I'm the person that everybody wants to be around. But then I'm also the person who is stuck in the house, depressed, and dealing with everything on the planet. And because I could never see a black person that was like that, there was no go-getter. The first time that I saw that was Play, from Kid and Play, from House Party.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then at the same time, I wasn't Play. I was Kid.
I mean, Kid did a little bit of that, but not as much as Play did.
But see, that's the thing. Look at how Play got all the attention. He got all the girls. He got everything. He was the man. 50 grand.
Kid got some girls too, because he could have got me.
Kid. Don't get. I mean, Kid. I loved Kid, but I wasn't the book smart guy. I wasn't the guy that was crazy. Don't get me wrong, though. There were certain, subjects that I was super smart at. I was a super booky guy, but at the same time, I didn't come across that way. I came across like Play.
You did. And I think that's why I liked Kid, because he was that book guy.
Right. And it's like, if you sat down with me when I did my homework, when I did my stuff in school, then you would see Kid. I mean, yeah, you see Kid. But then when you came out to the parties, I was Play. But who did you know to do that? You knew this dark skinned, heavy set, kind of muscular guy. But he was still
a black guy. I mean,
he was. Yeah. But like I'm saying, I have to see myself.
He was a black guy. He was darker. He was around your side. I think the difference is just your complexion.
Complexion and the weight. He wasn't skinny.
Well, at the time, yes. During the time that those movies came out, if you were skinny during that time, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I couldn't see myself. And because I didn't have somebody who was like me, it was hard.
Yeah.
Who do I mimic myself after? And so a lot of the times, the only time that I saw a guy who looked like me, and all of the ladies know, the only time that you saw some light-skinned curly dude, he was singing some ballad. He was singing some sexual, let me love you down kind of thing.
Gosh, who was it? You looked just like Joe, the singer.
Yeah.
No, what's his name? John B, not Joe.
Yeah, I was that's who I was. I was John B. I was John B. I was Genuine. I was those type of dudes. So guess what I did? I danced with you, I sang to you, and I had sex as well as I possibly could.
You never sang to me.
I sing all the time. I mean, not sing directly to you, but I sing all the time.
And I'm your wife.
I've done that to you. Matter of fact, no, we're not even going to go into that, because I do remember in the basement apartment that I had where I sang to you, but we're not going to talk about that whole time. That was a really depressing time for me.
I don't remember that at all. I know. But moving on, I mean, when you talk about, trying to figure out who to kind of model yourself after, I know with me, the biggest one for me was always Aaliyah. And, she had that
she had that vibe. Sorry, that's
yeah,
really...
she had that vibe, and I could relate to her. I could model after her more so because of her size. I mean, she wasn't, skinny, but she wasn't heavy or anything like that either. She was closer to what I felt that I could get to than anybody else. She would, our complexions were just about the same. And her personality, loved the personality as well. How she wore her hair, how she wore her clothes was her style, was the style that I like to wear myself. So, I had that to kind of model after.
You see, that's the thing, from a female aspect, at that time in the hip hop and the R&B industry, we had a lot of people that we could model after. But if you're not that way, as far as the particular personality that they exude,
I don't even think it's about personality, because I think back then we probably had more people in the music industry that we could model after. And when I look at females, you look at groups like TLC, or you look at groups like In Vogue and Analia. You look at those people, and they're different types of styles, they're different types of body types. When I see a lot of the females out now, like I said, they're more voluptuous. People got surgery done and implants and things like that. Everybody wants the biggest booty or whatever. And it becomes overwhelming, and it's not realistic. And it gives this false impression that this is what we need to strive for. I don't know how long I've been trying to get a big booty. I have a handful of a booty, but I mean, you know, I wanted a big booty too, but I've given up on that now. I'm like, I don't have time for this.
And see, you know, I was one of those guys who was, you know, very different. You know, all of my friends, either they were a booty man, they were a breast man, or, you know, they had specific things. And I was one of the guys who I just loved femininity. I loved a woman who actually loved being a woman and exuded that, because that was what I was attracted to. It was just about being around that type of mindset. It didn't matter whether you had a voluptuous body or not. It was just, I just love being around a woman. So I was different. And at the same time, once again, how there's no men that I can see who are on screen or anything like that who talk like that or think like that. And so then once again, where am I?
Yeah.
You know, so it was really hard for me growing up, because who in the world talks like that? Like you said in the previous episode, you know, who talks like a movie?
Yeah. I mean, that's something that you definitely do.
You know, so it's, you know, the changing of times when speaking of what is attractive, you know, going back to what you were talking about as far as the difference between back in the days when we used to have people who were slim, who were in the middle, and who were voluptuous, whatever the case may be. And now it's all about that big body bands.
Well, it's about that. But then also within that, you know, changing of times and the whole self-love area, you got the whole natural hair movement that's been going on. You'll see a lot of commercials and shows with, you know, everybody rocking their natural hair. And, you know, and I think it's great. I mean, my hair is natural, and it took me a little bit to kind of keep myself in that mode of having natural hair, because I was so used to having relaxed hair. And, you know, I mean, although I love the whole thing of embracing your natural, which is something that I have done, it is not easy with the amount of tasks and stuff that are on our shoulders. Who has the time to work with this hair? A lot of times I'm complaining about what decision did I make by doing this, because it takes so much work and time. And, you know, and then when you have people out there that, you know, wear wigs and weave and things like that, I love wigs. And I mean, people will try to say, well, you know, you're not embracing your natural, you know, because you want to wear your hair straight, like, you know, white people and everything. No, I just didn't feel like doing my hair today. I didn't feel like taking that time to twist my hair up at night or whatever, so I can make sure my curls are popping and everything. I don't have time to do that when I have a child. I got to get to school, and I got dogs, I got work. I mean, you have so much on your plate. You just don't have the time to try to manage that. So you look for protective styles, whether it's braids, whether it's wigs or weave or something like that. And I think that the whole hair thing is a big part of self-love for Black women, because I know for me, you know, if I don't have my hair together, nothing else looks right at all. I have to be able to do something with my hair for me to feel that the way that I look is complete.
Now, from a guy's aspect, and this is kind of touchy, you know what I'm saying? But I'm honest. At night, I hate wigs. But then at the same time, that could just be because of the fact.
I do too. I mean, who wants to wear? For me, who wants to wear a wig at night? You feel like you have a hat on or something when you're laying in the bed, and I mean, it may be gone by the time you wake up.
But at the same time, you know, you have those women who either got the sew in or whatever the case may be, and so you can't just take it out. And the problem that I had with that is when I'm laying up against you or whatever, and all of that gets on my hair, unless it's something that you paid a lot of money for, where you got some real hair, then that thing is scratching up against my face, and I can't deal with it.
You talking about people that buy cheap stuff?
Yo, I mean, come on, man. I care about the way you look. You know, don't get me wrong. When we go out and we're doing our thing, you look hot. You know what I'm saying? All of that. You get all of your flowers. But when we get home, you'll take that thing off.
Yeah, but if they can't and if they don't want to, that's why you got the bonnets.
Exactly. But, you know, it still goes back to, you know, in the past, you were told what we felt as far as the Black community beliefs on what was attractive based on what you saw on TV, what you saw in the media. And then at the same time, you know, where we came from, where white was right. So you had to get your hair permed. You had to do this, that, and the third. So you had to look a certain way to make sure that you were acceptable in the workplace. And so we had this altered view on what we thought was acceptable, was attractive, and what wasn't.
And I loved having my hair permed. I loved to just wrap my hair at night, put a scarf on, wake up, unwrap it, and go. I mean, that was very, very easy. And we can still do that with natural hair. It just takes a longer process to get your hair straight, or that straight where you can go ahead and wrap it, or you just go and get a silk press, at a salon or something like that. But the moment that rain or humidity hits your hair, that's the end of that. And that's my other pet peeve is I don't like to go to salons to get my hair done to try to get a silk press or something like that, because I feel like I wasted money if humidity gets to it, or if I got to do too much to try to keep it that way, because if water gets to it, it's going to be done for.
Black girl struggles. It's real.
I don't have time for that. Throw on a wig.
So now, when you think about it, you got to really open yourself up to the different definitions of beauty and what you feel is beautiful, what you feel is handsome, what you feel, will allow you to have love, self-love about yourself and who you are.
Well, I think opening up to different definitions of beauty is, taking that time to, just look out there. When you're just look at other people, and you can see people that are very confident in how they look, what they have on. They showcase it on TV. You can see all these different definitions of beauty to see that there's not just some standard out there that you have to try to model yourself after, that you can find your own standard within yourself, and it would be acceptable just like all these other different beauty standards, quote unquote, are out there.
One of the things that I've come to really love to watch, and I was trying to get you to watch it with me, is the Rihanna's Savage Fenty whole production that she does, just because, number one, you don't normally see women or men of those body types and different multitude of shades of melanin walking across the stage being proud that not only of their body type, their color, but also them in their late night gear, being able to find something that makes you feel attractive, makes you look attractive to yourself, and cater to the different variety of people that we are in the Black community. And I think that's such an incredible display that she does every time she does one of those, what would you call it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you would call that. It's more like you could call it a show, or I don't know.
But that goes along with the changing of times. Black people, and I'm so proud of us. We have just decided to bulldoze down these walls and just say, you know what? We're going to be okay with however we look, in whatever shape that we are, no matter what it is that we're dealing with. But at the same time, although that's nice to see it and have the capability to see it, you also got to deal with your own mental.
Well, I think people are starting to learn to accept and put themselves out there and say, this is me, this is who I am, and not feel like they have to change or mold it to someone else's expectations.
No, I think that, the new generation has a little bit of an easier time with this. They just really just don't care. But, our generation, as far as we're the millennials, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So us millennials, I'm an 83 baby, you know what I'm saying? But, we had a little bit of a harder time with coming to that acceptance of it just being okay to just be me. Now, me personally, and I can only speak for myself, as I've gotten older, I'm getting closer to 40, I get into this position mentally where I'm just like, I really don't give a fuck. I don't care how you feel. I don't care what you think. I like me. Nah, I don't really like my physique at the moment. I need to work on it, but who doesn't? And But I love the person that I am. I love some of me. And I think now that I have gotten to a point where I can look inside and know that I actually bring something to the table, I think I bring a lot more value to not only our relationship, but also my friendships.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that I have that type of mindset as well. There are, things that I work on with myself. I mean, I'm still small, so I'm not as obsessed. I wouldn't say I'm obsessed at all now with trying to gain weight. I've already reached my 125 that I've been trying to reach for 10, 15 years. And I finally got to that point, and now I'm just trying to stay there. And I'm happy with that. But I think with me, I don't really care too much what others may think or have to say as well. I look at, I don't want there to be I don't want it to take a lot of effort for me to get to that point where I feel like I look good when I'm getting ready to go somewhere. I don't want to spend 2-3 hours trying to do makeup or do my hair or anything like that. I just feel that all that is unnecessary. Let me take 30 minutes and I should be really good. If I have to take that much time, I may need to work on some other things. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think it should take that long to make yourself look good to where you have that confidence.
And I think, that's, on a case by case scenario, everybody thinks differently, but this is what we want for ourselves. This is what we feel is what we need, and I think you get to a point in life where I don't need all of these different things to walk out the door and make someone else accept me. I don't need your approval. I think when you get to that point where I know I'm dressed the way that I need to, I feel good in the clothes that I got. I feel good with the way that I look when I walked out the door. And as long as I feel that way, that's all that matters.
Exactly. I mean, people, also have to look at the fact that, not everybody that's listening is married as well. Not that you should care less when you're married, but when you're single and searching, you're trying to present yourself in a way that will attract a potential partner. So, and yes, you should still have the mindset of, this is how I feel good. This is, what I like to look like. And, person that is attracted to you should accept that. You should still have that. But there will be people out there that will be trying to kind of go over and beyond just to try to get that partner as well.
I think, we can go into so many different ways or different things that can affect or that people have to deal with that causes them to change themselves due to a lack of self-love or due to the environment that they're in or the career path that they've chosen that has forced them to change the way that they look, for whatever particular reason. You even have, when you think about bleaching, and our Black brothers and sisters who have bleached their skin to make themselves lighter to feel more accepted in this world that we feel is controlled by those without melanin.
And that's something that I do not understand. And I guess, and maybe that's because my skin complexion is lighter already, and I'm not of a darker skin complexion. So maybe I don't truly understand, what that feeling must be to feel as though you need to be lighter. I don't think I've ever considered trying to bleach my skin to make myself more white.
And then at the same time, I've had the flip side of that where I've wanted to be darker because I felt that, I've had situations where people of darker skin complexion have made me feel bad for being the complexion that I'm at.
Why?
Because either I'm too white or I'm not as black or I'm not as accepted because
But it's not like you're like a high yellow color. I mean, me and you are almost about the same complexion.
well, at
And
one point I was a super high yellow. I was very, very light. I've gotten darker over the years because I've been in the sun, because I like being out in the sun. It gives me energy,
yeah.
so I've gotten darker, but I've been made to feel some type of way about my light skin, not only from those who are darker, but those who are lighter. You got people who literally, I don't find you attractive because you're not dark skinned.
And and it's something that I used to say, not in that literal sense, but I used to prefer lighter skinned guys over darker skinned guys. But before I got married, the better relationships that I had were with darker skinned guys for the most part. So I didn't discriminate between dating darker or lighter skinned guys, but I found myself more attracted to lighter skinned guys.
Now, don't get me wrong. At this current day, going back to the whole ideology of, Black communities' beliefs that have changed based off of the times, you had a lot more light-skinned dudes in the past who was a little bit more rough and rugged. You know what I'm saying? You had LL Cool J. You had...
But I never liked that rough and rugged. I couldn't stand that.
True. I understand that you didn't, but there was a lot of people who did.
Yeah.
Right? But right now, when you look at... If you take J. Cole out of the picture, because J. Cole is a little bit more, in your face, or with the movement, I should say. But if you take that out, then you really only have people like Drake. And when you look at Drake and his kind of catering towards the female, he's a little bit emotional, what people look at. And so a lot of women don't really want an emotional dude. And they're looking for somebody who's a little bit more secure in themselves, although they don't understand that we're just catering to them and what they need. And then it makes people like me look bad. And so, for a long time, I've had to deal with, oh, that's that John B kind of dude. He's super emotional, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you don't know me like that, homie.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So I had to deal with a lot of, unacceptance from every different side. And so I always felt like I was by myself. If I wasn't trying to be hardcore or down with the gangs or blah, 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 then it was like, you're a punk. And if I wasn't trying to be, oh, let me button up my shirt and stretch up my tie so I can be Mr. Whitey Tighty, around that group of people, they were like, well, you're not us, and stop trying to act like it.
Yeah, see, I never tried to go one way or the other. I did my own thing, and if that meant that I just had one or two close friends, that was the end of that. I mean, I wasn't part of this or that. It was just the way I was.
And I guess because, the difference between me and you, when we were growing up was everyone around me was a part of a clique. And so it felt like I had to be a part of a clique. And because I wasn't, I felt alone.
Well, I people that I was around, they were part of cliques as well. I mean, people that even from high school, junior high school, and even into college, people that I was close to, they were part of cliques. I may or may not have hung out with those cliques. I mean, it was just a hit or miss. But I've never really looked at cliques like that. It was just more so, do I have a connection with this particular person or that particular person, and kept it as that.
And I guess with me, I wanted to be a part of the clique, but I could never fit in because I was always so different. And because I couldn't fit in, and it was very apparent that I did, it made me internalize it, which then, gave me a negative perspective on myself.
I think I kind of have a bit of a negative view on cliques because back in, I don't know if it was junior high school or high school, and I had one friend that she was my best friend, and we were very, very close. And I also had another friend, and I was close with her as well, but she was a part of a clique, and she came to me wanting me to be a part of the clique that she was a part of, because they were very, very popular in school, and they wanted me to be a part of that clique, but only if I dropped the girl that was my best friend. And after after that situation, and of course I didn't drop my best friend. I just kind of stuck with her, because I was like, no, I'm not going to just drop somebody who's really close to me like that just to be a part of a clique. I kind of ended up having a negative view of cliques.
And see, because of the difference in our experiences, that also kind of shaped how we decided to live life. And it wasn't until later on that I kind of gained your mentality of, I don't really need the clique. Because if you don't operate like me or talk like me or think like me, then I don't need you. And as a grown up, or, so to speak, as an adult, I realize the people that you hang around and that you associate with kind of also dictate your reality. And because
you influence each other. I mean, that's right. just that influence.
And my problem was, I didn't really have the capability of being around the people that I needed to be to change my reality, because everyone in my school was a particular way. Everyone around my neighborhood was a particular way. And even a lot of those people that I know are still kind of stuck in that mentality and don't, separate. And I'm more of an entrepreneur. I'm more of, somebody who likes to soak up those positive rays, and I needed to be around those types of cliques. And it isn't until now that I realize that there are people like me that I can connect with, or that more of those people are available and looking for people like me to hang with. But I didn't know that they were around because my environment didn't allow me to see that.
Yeah.
And so to kind of close this thing out, a couple of gems that I just feel like people should pay attention to. Change your circle, change your reality. You got to look at the circle and the people that you bring around yourself, around your home, around, that you put yourself with. And the moment that you change those people, if they're negative for you and for your reality, is the moment that you will not only change what you think about the world, but might also change how you think about yourself.
And also, the definition of beauty is what you already are. I mean, these things that you see on TV, the portrayal of African Americans, and I'm specifically talking about Black people, there are some things that are kind of good to kind of want to model after. But if you're looking at more physical appearance and things like that, there's a lot of things out there that you don't necessarily need to follow. I mean, you'll spend a lot of time, anxiety and stress trying to strive to be the things that you may see on TV. And, just focusing on what you already have within yourself is so much better. I mean, I spent 10, 15 years trying to gain 15 pounds. That didn't come until I gave up trying to do it.
And then the last thing I'll leave y'all with is, don't try to find something that defines you. Don't try to find or look for the movie or the song or whatever that talks about who you are.
Only Gary does that.
Well, that's what I used to do. But now I write my own story, and I encourage you to write yours, because every one of us is important and is different. And there are people who are interested in you. You just don't know it yet.
Gary's such a movie.
Anyway, thank y'all for checking us out. Thank y'all for listening. Peace out.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And check out our website at blackrelativity.com for additional info and discussions. Also, if you know someone that will like this content, take a screenshot and share it on social media. From the standard to the most controversial topic, we got you covered. This is Black Relativity.